Hello and welcome to the trade setup. In this video we are looking at D-Wave Quantum. It is time for another update, and today we'll be taking a look at the potential bottom being formed within this correction and another interpretation that actually shows a lot of confluence with what is happening within this correction. But before we get there, I would like to go quickly through the larger time frame for any of you who might be new. And on this chart we have quite a bullish interpretation going on because I am able to track here a series of 1-2 setups in this area, yeah. And now this would be a larger third wave to the upside that would be forming. Now I have to say there is a chance this third wave could be complete, but it is not a high probability interpretation for me. I still heavily prefer another high within this structure to the upside, where yeah, in this wave 3 we are tracking a 1, 2, 3, 4th and the 5th going on in this area, in which case I am tracking in this wave 5 in pretty much all interpretations an ending diagonal. There is a certain scenario, the possibility of a series of 1-2 setups going on, but honestly that is such a low probability, such unrealistic expectation that I don't really consider it to be too likely to work out. I don't want it to be a scenario that there is a lot of focus on, even though technically it is possible. Again, it is a low probability interpretation. Now I want to show you once again here, if we had already formed here the wave 3 top, however, we should be prepared for an even more significant correction where the area of support for this larger wave 4 will only start at the $17.6 level, and we wouldn't have even reached that level just yet. And not only that, it goes all the way down to the $5.9 level at the 50% retracement. That is not a problem for the long-term structure of this chart, yeah? Having already a wave 3 top in this area doesn't hurt the pattern that we are tracking to the upside in anyway, and it would still allow us, after this correction in the wave 4 would be done, to track a very strong movement to the upside in the follow-up move. Now, with that said, once again, I still have a heavy inclination for another high in this area. And right now, what we are tracking here is the idea of a 1, 2, and 3 being done, where now we have the wave 4 correction and then a 5th wave to the upside. This is the interpretation, the working interpretation that we have been tracking ever since, yeah, actually even before we have formed here this third wave top, but we have been looking here for this area of support ever since it was possible, ever since we formed this wave 3 top. Now, before we actually go into it, I want to show you the idea of confluence that I am tracking in parallel, just to show us that this is a likely interpretation to form additional highs, where honestly this could work out as a 1, 2, a third wave up, 4th wave down, and then this could be technically a 5th wave, where yeah, this would be the pattern that would allow us to track a possible completion here in the wave 3. But even in this interpretation, this looks a lot like a 5-wave structure, and if I were to have a 5-wave structure as the beginning of this 5th wave, well, I would be looking at least for a wave B and then a C wave to continue and form another move to the upside, another 5-wave move. In that case, I would be watching out for support here for the area for a wave B correction. In this case, we have pushed here perfectly into the 78.6% retracement before we have started our more significant reaction to the upside, the most significant one since this entire downtrend, which is the level of confluence that I was talking about, yeah? Within this interpretation, it would actually be quite detrimental to even form another low within this area, and we should expect a bottom already in place. And honestly, even within our scenario that we are tracking here actively, which does allow for a much deeper retracement, we are considering this with heavy likelihood, because so far we have pushed into the ideal target for a wave 4, the 38.2% retracement, and yeah, sure, we have broken below it, but that is not realistically a problem because we have even had quite a significant reaction to the upside. Now, the thing is, within this structure to the downside, within this correction, we were actually expecting an even more bearish interpretation, and while technically it can still work out to have here an ABC structure, I believe it would be much more likely, if it were to be a complete pattern to the downside, to have here a WXY movement, in which case, yeah, it would be even more likely that this correction is already complete, and this is allowed by the fact by the strength of this movement to the upside. Yeah, we have broken above relevant resistance levels that would have allowed further extensions lower. And with that said, we can even remove this interpretation, and honestly, even this ABC structure, yeah, could be a distortion that would still allow this to be an ABC instead of a WXY. But in the end, it doesn't really matter, yeah. We have here the potential to have a wave 4 bottom, and this is what we will be focusing on, where unfortunately from this local low, we have only managed to form here internally a 3-wave move to the upside, which, yeah, hurts a little bit the likelihood of this being an easy pattern to track, but there still is the chance of forming a larger leading diagonal in this area still. Now, before we head into it, I want to show some relevant areas of resistance. It is a more generic area in this case, since we don't have any high probability movement to the downside that would suggest further continuation lower. We are looking here for resistance at the levels between the $26.4 all the way up to the $38.4 level. And again, as said in many of the other charts in this week, we should be watching out for the relevant structural resistance levels, which, in this case, we can see this more significant top that has been formed after this very, very strong movement to the upside has been the top that has been achieved once again within this push to the upside, within what we are tracking here as a potential wave 3 to the upside. Now, with that said, here I would like to attempt to track a potential leading diagonal to the upside, but keep in mind this could in the end be an ABC structure, especially if we form here within this movement to the upside a complete 5-wave move. So far, I would still expect further highs without forming a complete 5-wave structure. Within this pattern, we would still need several highs before we have the full 5-wave structure. But within the third wave, if this really is to be a wave 3, I would like to reach at least the ideal target of, or the ideal extension for the wave 3, which is the $29.3 level in this case, the 138.2% extension of the wave 1. So far, we have only gotten to the previous level, and we should still be looking for additional highs within this area, because even if I wanted to, it would be decently difficult for me to consider a full ABC structure in this area without forming at least one more high. Where my preferred interpretation, what I would like to play out, is the idea of an A wave up, B wave down, and then this as a C wave to the upside, where in the wave C, I would be tracking here an internal 1, 2, a third wave up, fourth wave down, and then a fifth wave that should easily take us to such ideal targets for the wave 3. And in that case, I would need to hold here the area of support for the correction in the wave 4 all the way down to the $26 level. So far, we have pushed a little bit below the 38.2% retracement, and we have started a more significant reaction to the upside, but nothing too concrete just yet. Not even a 5-wave structure has formed in this area, where I only have a 3-wave move to the upside so far. Now, the thing is, if we actually break here below the 50% retracement, it would be quite a significant risk that this overall structure would be complete, and we should be even prepared for a more significant failure. But what we could still watch out for in this case is the idea that, sure, maybe this third wave completed without reaching the ideal target, and in that case, we could be looking for the larger wave 4 correction, which would allow an extension all the way down to the 61.8% retracement at the $23.9 level. Then if we actually fail to hold even this, the likelihood of this structure overall working out would be heavily unprobabilistic, if that is even a word. Sure, it could work out for this to be an A wave of the wave 3 and have here a wave B and then a wave C to the upside, but it would be a very low probability interpretation for me, and I would be prepared actually rather for further extensions lower. Now, with that said, in this movement to the upside, we are looking for an initial wave A up, which isn't necessarily a problem for it to be even tinier and even in a 3-wave pattern, because we are tracking a 5th wave to the upside. We really only need to form an ABC structure to get to new highs and form this larger trend in the larger wave 3 to the upside. We only need that to complete the larger wave 3. And now, if we actually did already complete this larger pattern where we should expect further continuation down, we could be looking for an ideal target, although again, I would prefer to still continue higher even within a more bearish interpretation, and the ideal target for an extension lower right now would be the $11.5 level, which would even invalidate the idea of this continuation in this larger wave 3 to the upside, it would be below the area of support. But as always, within these corrections, we don't need to get to the ideal target and we don't need to stop there. So we still need to be a little bit more patient and follow the internal structure to get more information out of that. And for now, these are the levels. This is the trade setup. I hope you enjoyed the video. And if you did, don't forget to subscribe and let me know what else you want me to cover. And I'll do my best to do that in the days, weeks ahead. And until then, I hope you have a nice day and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.